All right, welcome back to the deep dive. You know how this works. We sift through a mountain of information so you don't have to. We're basically your personal research assistants in a way.
Exactly. We do the heavy lifting, and you get the concentrated, valuable insights.
And today's deep dive, well, it's a fascinating one for sure. We're going to explore the incredible life and achievements of Helen Hadsell. Maybe you've heard of her, the contest queen.
I've definitely come across her story, a truly remarkable woman who seemed to have this uncanny ability to win just about anything she set her mind to.
And we're talking everything, from everyday household items to cars, houses, even trips around the world. Pretty amazing, right?
Almost hard to believe, to be honest. Makes you wonder if there's some secret formula to winning at life.
Well, that's exactly what we're going to try and unpack today. What made Helen Hadsell so successful? Was it just luck? Or was there something more to it, some underlying principle that she tapped into? And most importantly, is there anything we can learn from her story and apply to our own lives?
Right, because that's the ultimate goal here, to not just be amazed by these incredible stories, but to also extract some practical wisdom that our listeners can take away and maybe even experiment with themselves.
You know, if even one person listening can get a little inspiration or a new perspective from this deep dive, I'd say that's a win.
Absolutely. So, Helen Hadsell, where do we even begin?
Well, I think it's important to start with the foundation of her philosophy. You see, her journey to becoming the contest queen wasn't about tricks or gimmicks. It all stemmed from a profound belief in the power of focused intention. This idea that our thoughts, when directed with clarity and conviction, can actually shape our reality. Sounds a bit out there, I know.
It does sound a bit like something you'd hear in a self-help seminar.
Right, and to be honest, I might have been skeptical too, if not for the sheer volume of her wins. But when you look at her track record, it's hard to dismiss it as mere coincidence.
You can't argue with results, right? So, where did this belief originate? Was it something she developed over time?
Interestingly, her initial exposure to this concept of positive thinking came from a book, Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. I think a lot of people have at least heard of that book.
Oh, yeah. A classic, isn't it? But what was it about this book that really resonated with her?
There was one quote in particular that really sparked something in her. Peale wrote, and I'm paraphrasing here, that you can have anything you want in life, provided you know what it is and see yourself as already having it. Powerful stuff.
So basically, it's about having a clear vision and believing in its inevitability.
Exactly. And for Helen, this wasn't just some abstract philosophy. It was an invitation to experiment, to put this idea to the test. And her first attempt at applying this principle was quite revealing.
What does she do?
Well, at the time, her husband was really wanting an outboard motor for his boat. You know, one of those engines that attaches to the back.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm guessing she decided to manifest him one?
You got it. There was this contest by the company Evinrude asking for entries in 25 words or less about why you take Coca-Cola on outings. Not the most obvious connection to an outboard motor, right?
No, not really. So how did she bridge that gap?
Through the power of focused intention. She created a very specific mental picture of her husband out on his boat enjoying a peaceful fishing trip with a six-pack of Coke right there beside him. And this image, this feeling of him already having the outboard motor, became the foundation for her entry. She wrote about how the Cokes were like his silent partners on his solitary fishing adventures.
Clever.
Very creative.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did she actually win?
She did. Out of who knows how many entries, hers was chosen. I mean, talk about an immediate validation of this idea. It must have been a pretty profound moment for her.
Absolutely. It's like the universe was saying, okay, we see you, we hear you. And from there, she just kept going, refining her methods and racking up win after win. It's almost like that first experience opened a door for her and she never looked back. Yeah, I think that initial win really solidified her belief in this principle of focused intention. And over time, she formalized her approach into what she calls SPEC.
SPEC. Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that stand for?
Well, it's an acronym that represents the 4 key stages of her manifestation process. SELECT, PROJECT, EXPECT, COLLECT.
Select, project, expect, collect. Okay, that's pretty catchy. Let's break it down, starting with select.
Right, so the first step is all about clarity. Getting crystal clear on what it is you truly desire. Not just kind of wanting something, but knowing exactly what it is you're aiming for.
So no wishy-washy desires, only specific goals.
Exactly. And Helen really emphasized focusing on one specific desire at a time. She believed that trying to manifest too many things at once was like trying to water a dozen plants with a single drop. It just wouldn't be effective.
That makes sense. Spread yourself too thin and you end up accomplishing nothing.
Precisely. So you've got your desire, now what? That's where the project stage comes in.
Okay, so project. This is where we start bringing the desire into reality, right?
You got it. And Helen's primary tool for this stage was visualization. But not just any kind of visualization. She was all about creating a vivid, multi-sensory experience in her mind. Like a full-on mental movie of her already having or experiencing the thing she desired.
So it wasn't just vaguely picturing something, it was about really immersing herself in the feeling of it.
Exactly. Say she wanted a particular car. She wouldn't just imagine herself driving a car. She would visualize the exact make and model, the specific color, everything. She would even imagine the smell of the new leather interior, the feel of the steering wheel in her hands, the sound of the engine. It was about making it as real as possible in her mind, tricking her subconscious into believing it was already a reality.
So it's almost like creating a virtual reality experience in your mind.
In a way, yes. And that leads us to the third stage, SPEC. This is where unwavering belief comes in.
So it's not just hoping it will happen, it's knowing it will happen.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a deep inner conviction, a quiet certainty that what you desire is on its way. Not if, but when. And this was a crucial point for Helen. She believed that doubt was the biggest obstacle to manifestation.
Because doubt creates resistance. Right. It sends a conflicting message to the universe.
Precisely. It's like putting one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. You're not going to get very far. Helen even went so far as to reframe the concept of failure. She didn't see it as an end, but simply as a delay in results.
Interesting. So it's not about getting discouraged when things don't happen right away. It's about maintaining that belief, that expectation, no matter what.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final stage, Collect. This is the culmination of the whole process, the moment when your desire manifests in the physical world.
So this is the fun part, right? When all that focused intention pays off.
Yeah, you could say that. It's the win, the prize, the realization of your goal, whatever that may be. It's the moment when your inner world aligns with your outer world.
Okay, so we have the SPEC formula. Select, project, expect, collect. But it seems like there's more to it than just a step-by-step process. Helen also talked a lot about the role of energy and emotion in manifestation. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. You see, Helen believed that our thoughts are not just abstract things floating around in our heads. They have energy, and this energy follows the direction of our desires. The more focused and intense our desire, the more energy we channel towards it, making it more likely to manifest.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like focusing sunlight through a magnifying glass. The more concentrated the beam, the more powerful it becomes.
Exactly, and she specifically highlighted the power of positive emotion in amplifying this energy. You know, emotions like joy, gratitude, excitement, that feeling of already having what you desire.
I think she had a quote about that, didn't she? Something about thought becoming things.
Yes, she famously said thought becomes things, emphasizing the formative power of our mental focus. And even more powerfully, she added, emotion brings it faster, draws it faster to you.
So it's not just about passively thinking about what you want, it's about actively feeling it, as if it's already yours.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that positive emotional state, aligning your energy with the vibration of your desire.
Now, this all sounds very empowering, but we don't live in a vacuum, do we? There's a lot of negativity in the world, a lot of doubt and skepticism. How did Helen advise navigating those external influences that could potentially derail our efforts?
That's a great point. It can be challenging to maintain a positive, focused mindset when surrounded by people who might not share your beliefs or who might project their own doubts and fears onto you.
Absolutely. It's like trying to stay warm in a blizzard. You need to find ways to protect yourself from the elements.
And Helen was very conscious of this. She advised being very selective about who you share your desires with, especially in those early stages when your belief might still be fragile.
So don't go broadcasting your dreams to people who might try to rain on your parade.
Right. And it wasn't just about protecting yourself from overt negativity. She also believed that we could absorb negative thought patterns from others, almost like catching a cold.
So it's like if you hang around people who are constantly complaining or dwelling on the negative, their energy might rub off on you.
Exactly. And her recommendation was to consciously reject those negative thoughts, to not allow them to take root in your own mind. You know, like filtering out spam emails.
That takes discipline, doesn't it? To
Yes.
actively monitor your mental space and make sure you're not letting unwanted thoughts take hold.
It does. And she even spoke about creating a protective light around yourself as a way to shield against negativity. This could be a visualization technique, or it could simply be a metaphor for setting energetic boundaries, but the idea is to create a sort of mental safe space where you can cultivate your positive intentions without interference.
I like that. Creating a protective bubble of positive energy. So we've talked about the principles, but let's get to the juicy stuff. Helen's wins. And we're not just talking about winning a toaster oven here. She manifested some pretty incredible things, like a house and a trip to Paris. Let's dive into those stories, shall we?
Oh, absolutely. These are prime examples of the SPEC formula in action, and they really highlight the power of focused intention. The story of how she won the Formica house is a classic.
Yeah, tell me about that one.
Well, it all started with her feeling this strong inner pull to go see the model home for this new development. Even though it was quite a distance and her friends weren't interested in making the trip, she felt compelled to go.
So she went alone.
She did. She registered for the drawing, putting both her name and her husband's down. And while she was inside the model home, she didn't just casually look around. She really immersed herself in the experience. She visualized her family living there, cooking in the kitchen, relaxing in the living room. She even opened the refrigerator and imagined it filled with groceries. She was basically acting as if they already owned the house.
Wow, talk about commitment to the visualization process. But her husband hadn't even seen the house at this point, right?
No, he hadn't. But here's the interesting part. A few weeks later, they received a call from the developer, just a routine follow-up call, asking if they had seen the model home. And her husband, without missing a beat, said, "Yes, we saw it and were very impressed." Now remember, he hadn't actually seen the house.
He was just playing along with her vision, aligning himself with her intention.
Exactly. And about a month later, Helen had this strong feeling that they were going to win. She even told her children to act surprised when they received the call. And sure enough, they got a call from the president of Formica himself, inviting them to come down to the model home for a special presentation.
And that's how they found out they had won the house.
You got it. It's an incredible story, isn't it? And it really shows the power of aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with your desires.
Absolutely. It's like they were already living in that house, energetically speaking, long before they physically moved in.
Exactly. And then there's the story of her trip to Paris. This one speaks to the power of persistence.
Okay, tell me about that one. I'm all ears.
So for her 40th birthday, Helen decided she wanted to celebrate in Paris. She told her husband this, and she entered a contest where the prize was a trip to Europe.
And I'm guessing she won.
Well, not exactly. Her entry was actually quite humorous. She wrote about how they were a pooped couple trying to rekindle their romance.
Oh, that's funny. So maybe the judges thought they needed something else to help them relax.
Maybe so, because the prize she ended up winning was a Hammond electric organ. They both thought it was hilarious. She even joked that maybe the judges thought they needed musical therapy more than a romantic getaway.
But she didn't let that deter her, did she?
No, she didn't. She maintained her desire to go to Paris and continued to enter similar contests. And eventually, guess what?
She won her trip to Paris.
She did. She got to celebrate her 40th birthday in the City of Lights, just as she had envisioned.
That's awesome. It's like that saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Exactly. It shows that sometimes manifestation takes time and persistence. It's not always instant, but if you stay focused on your desire and keep taking action towards it, you can increase your chances of success.
Now, these are all contest-related wins, which are amazing, but did Helen believe these principles could be applied to other areas of life as well?
Oh, absolutely. She was adamant that the SPEC formula and the underlying principle of focused intention was not limited to material possessions or winning contests. She believed it could be applied to everything. Your health, your relationships, your career, your spiritual growth, anything you desired to create or experience in your life.
So it's not just about winning stuff. It's about consciously shaping your reality in a broader sense.
Exactly. She talked about using this technique to find answers to questions, to gain insights through dreams or intuition, to even manifest solutions to problems.
There's that story about her trip to Chicago, right? Where she really didn't want to fly.
Yes, that's a perfect example. She was supposed to go to Chicago for work with Jose Silva, but she had a strong aversion to flying. So she mentally voiced her desire for an alternative solution.
Yeah.
And almost immediately after, she got a call from someone in Chicago offering to handle all the necessary arrangements, which meant she didn't have to travel.
Wow, it's almost like she willed that solution into being.
And that's the power of focused intention. It's not about forcing things to happen, but rather aligning yourself with the possibilities and allowing the universe to work its magic.
It sounds like a very powerful mindset to cultivate, but it also seems like it requires a certain level of self-awareness, doesn't it? To really know what you desire and to believe that it's possible.
Absolutely. Helen always stressed the importance of knowing yourself, of being honest with yourself about your true desires, and of clearing out any limiting beliefs that might be holding you back.
Because if you don't believe it's possible, then it probably won't happen, right?
Exactly. Your beliefs shape your reality. And she observed that people who tend to think small, well, they tend to get small results. While those who dare to think big, to embrace bigger possibilities, they open themselves up to bigger manifestations.
Makes you think, doesn't it? What if we're all capable of achieving so much more than we think we are?
It's an exciting thought, isn't it? And speaking of expanding possibilities, Helen had a rather interesting way of framing her methods. She coined the term wishcraft.
Witchcraft. Okay, I like that. It sounds more playful and less intimidating than, say, magic or the law of attraction.
Exactly. And that was her intention. She used this term to differentiate her approach from any connotations of witchcraft or the occult. She wanted to make it clear that it wasn't about supernatural powers or secret rituals. It was about harnessing the natural power of the mind and focused intention.
So it's like taking ownership of your own creative power, your ability to shape your reality.
Exactly. And there's another interesting aspect to Helen's story that I wanted to touch on. It seems that in some cases, the positive expectations of others played a role in her wins. There's that great story about the fishbowl, for instance.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that. Tell me about it.
So this was at her husband's company Christmas party after she'd already won the house. Her win had gotten some local attention, and people were buzzing about it at the party.
I can imagine. Winning a house is not exactly an everyday occurrence.
Right. So at one point during the party, they were raffling off a boombox, and Helen casually mentioned to someone that it would make a perfect Christmas present for her daughter.
And someone overheard her.
The woman distributing the raffle tickets heard her and started telling everyone that Helen was going to win the boombox.
So suddenly everyone's attention and expectations were focused on her winning this boombox.
Exactly. It's like the whole room was rooting for her. And guess what?
She won the boombox.
She did. It's like the collective positive energy of the room somehow amplified her own intention and made it even more powerful.
It's amazing how interconnected we all are, isn't it? How our thoughts and beliefs can influence each other.
It really is. Now, of course, not everything manifests instantly. So how did Helen advise dealing with delays and potential discouragement when things don't seem to be happening as quickly as you'd like?
Well, she always emphasized that delays are a normal part of the process. It's not always a straight line from desire to manifestation. Sometimes there are detours and unexpected twists and turns. The important thing is to not interpret those delays as failures or signs that it's not going to happen.
So it's about maintaining that trust in the process, even when things get a little bumpy.
Exactly. And she cautioned against falling into the trap of negative self-talk. You know, those thoughts like, it's never going to happen, or I'm just not lucky, or there's too much competition.
Because those thoughts create resistance, don't they? They put up a mental block that can actually prevent your desire from manifesting.
Precisely. It's like trying to drive with the parking brake on. You're not going to get very far.
Yeah.
So it's about staying positive, maintaining your belief, and trusting that the universe is working in its own time and its own way.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that Helen had a very positive attitude towards giving back, towards helping others.
Oh, yeah. She was a big believer in charity and philanthropy.
She really was. She found a lot of fulfillment in giving to causes she believed in, and she saw it as a way of expressing gratitude for her own abundance.
It's like that saying, the more you give, the more you receive.
Exactly. And I think that attitude of generosity and gratitude can be a powerful support for manifestation. It creates a positive energy flow, a sense of abundance that can ripple out and create more positive experiences. Now, later in her life, Helen also developed a service based on numerology that she called her blueprint service.
Oh, tell me about that. I haven't heard about this one.
So for a small fee, she would create a personalized blueprint for people based on their birth date. It was basically a numerological analysis that revealed their inherent strengths, talents, and life purpose.
Interesting. So it was kind of like a personalized roadmap for fulfilling your potential.
Exactly. She identified various life path numbers like pioneer, diplomat, artist, builder, adventurer, each with its own unique set of characteristics and potential avenues for fulfillment.
It sounds like a fascinating blend of self-discovery and practical guidance.
It does. And while it might seem a bit different from her focus on contesting, I think it reflects her overarching interest in helping people understand themselves better and live more fulfilling lives.
Makes sense. And on a more unconventional note, Helen also claimed to have some pretty extraordinary experiences, including seeing into other dimensions.
Yes, this is a side of her that not everyone knows about, and it might sound a bit far out to some people, but she recounted instances of seeing beyond our normal reality, perceiving thought forms, and even encountering beings from other realms.
She mentioned experiencing things like seances and telepathy, too.
She did. And whether you believe in those things or not, I think it speaks to her openness to exploring the unknown and pushing the boundaries of human perception.
Definitely. It adds another layer to her already fascinating story. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Helen Hadsell, what are the key takeaways? What can our listeners learn from her extraordinary life and achievements?
Well, I think the most important lesson is the power of focused intention. That our thoughts, when directed with clarity and conviction, can actually influence our reality. And Helen's SPEC formula provides a practical framework for putting this principle into action.
Right. Select your desire, project it into reality through visualization, expect it to manifest, and then collect your prize. Simple, but powerful.
And it's not just about the steps. It's about cultivating that unwavering belief, that inner knowing that what you desire is possible and that it's on its way to you. And it's about harnessing the power of positive emotion, aligning your energy with the vibration of your desire.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about being mindful of the influences around you, protecting yourself from negativity, and choosing to focus on thoughts and beliefs that empower you.
Exactly. Helen Hadsell might have been an exceptional case, but her story shows us that the power to shape our reality is within each of us.
Absolutely. It's about tapping into that power consciously and intentionally and creating the life we truly desire.
So for you, our listener, I leave you with this question. What is one desire, one dream, one goal that you've been holding in your heart? What would it take to bring that desire into reality? Maybe it's time to give the SPEC formula a try. Select your desire, visualize it, believe in it, and see what happens. You might be surprised by the results.
And if you're really wanting to learn more about Helen Hadsell's methods and experiences, I highly recommend checking out her book, Contesting. It's a fascinating read, full of insights and inspiration from the contest queen herself.
And that's it for this week's Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shaping your reality.
Did you get any of that?